From the distant north, beyond the frozen sea, they come. Long has the Viking loomed over popular culture, a monument to the violence these roaming Norsemen championed. The brutal paths they carved through Europe track like scars across the continent, its coasts ever threatened by the raiding parties of our seafaring forefathers, its towns and cities occupied by their bloody campaigns. But those violent delights have violent ends. Most Viking fiction has long enjoyed a romanticised and reductive image of the perfect Viking, that horned crusader obsessed only with battle, with getting their ticket punched and ascending to Valhalla. Luckily for us, Makoto Yukimura's Vinland Saga is not most Viking fiction. At its outset, the warmongering, village-pillaging, coast-sacking Danes we find ourselves in the company of are everything we've been taught to expect from Viking. But they are a bloody piece of a much larger puzzle. Vinland Saga thoroughly explores that very notion. Yukimura allows his Vikings to farm and cultivate, as well as ransack and destroy. Here, they are explorers and mercenaries, fighters and philosophers, traders, as well as raiders. Not only does Yukimura's tale sidestep classic misconceptions such as those iconic horned helmets, but his world is rich in historically accurate detail, and packed to bursting with familiar names such as Leif Erikson and Canute the Great. Even our hero, Thorfinn, is based on famous Viking explorer Thorfinn Karlsefni. When we meet him, he is a child consumed with rage and hell-bent on revenge. He is a hauntingly detached killer, ruthless in his mission to cut down the man that took everything from him, and through that quest we're welcomed to the world he and his bloodthirsty compatriots inhabit. Hunting for ever stronger opponents, killing in the hopes of being killed gloriously in return, fighting bitterly to live only to take that life from others. The lives of Yukimura's characters are relentlessly savage and fragile in equal measure, his dark tale offering no safety for its ugly, beautiful, wonderfully complicated heroes. And heroes they all are. Early on, Thorfinn is told, "out." This series has no villains, whether it's the ever-scheming Askeladd, the bear-like berserker Bjorn, or the absolutely manic, battle-starved nutjob Thorkel. Every grinning face from the shadows becomes a favourite character in just a few chapters. Vinland never tries to justify their often barbaric behaviour. Indeed, they're never sold as anything but reprehensible, but Yukimura provides enough context and culture to at least understand them in a more complicated fashion. That said, it's a general rule in Vinland that the more insane a character, the more lovable they prove to be. This isn't Thorfinn's story. Not yet. As a boy with one thing to live for and nothing left to lose, he isn't capable of shouldering the narrative of Vinland's opening arc. It's here Yukimura's supposedly supporting cast picks up the slack, and become protagonists in their own right. Whilst Thorfinn flounders and grows in the margins of the work, we're treated to characters worth investing in, rarely as two-dimensional as the incredible artwork that depicts them. But it's as the series progresses, as its moody lead matures, that its storytelling does too, and Yukimura spins a saga spanning decades that cements itself as a true literary epic. Whilst other seinen might paint their world red to tell tales in the spaces between violence, Vinland Saga tells the tale of violence, how it shapes the lives of those who revel in it, of what it gives and of what it costs, and ultimately, how we can atone for and even forgive it. Over its 15 years in publication, Vinland has asked and answered these questions repeatedly, with Yukimura coming to wildly different conclusions during his years exploring such a wicked world. The Vikings' paradoxical desire for life and death, that bestial will to survive only to find a heroic end at the hands of another, speaks to a dichotomy within the story at large, a story thoroughly soaked in bloodshed and gore, from a writer seemingly obsessed with peace and compassion. Vinland Saga is about breaking that cycle of violence, about planting grain instead of trampling it. It's an inexhaustible search for life in a series that often offers nothing but death. Whilst its first arc, its bloodiest and most straightforward, has been adapted beautifully and faithfully by Studio Wit, it's in the series' future beats that Vinland Saga goes from a great story to one of the best in the medium. It's in the manga's 8th volume that Yukimura states that this is the end of the prologue. It's a bold claim, but Vinland shifts so wildly in tone, in setting, and even time following that declaration that you can't help but be in awe of the scope of Yukimura's vision. Vinland Saga tracks a life, its ups, its downs, its mistakes and its triumphs, and it fittingly has taken a fair chunk of Yukimura's own life to document, to do justice to, and to earn the saga of its title. Wit's adaptation is a wonderful place to start your own journey with Thorfinn and company, but know that by the time its final credits roll, you're only just leaving the shallows. What's out there in the ocean of Yukimura's work is at once intimidating and breathtaking, joyous and painful even, but it's worth every heartbreak to explore such a special series. So climb aboard this incredible tale, sail past its claret-stained obsession with revenge, sail past its incredible opening gambit, sail past Jormungandr itself, toward Vinland. As always, thanks for watching. Once a year on the Beyond Ghibli Patreon, I buy a bunch of manga that my supporters recommend, and a couple of years back, one of those recommendations was Vinland Saga. A huge thank you to La Barbecue who picked it, and introduced me to a series I absolutely fell in love with. This channel has always been about pointing people in the direction of wonderful anime and manga, and it's so fun to flip that dynamic on its head and read all of your favourites for a change. For the month of March, I'm opening up the Patreon to your recommendations once again, as part of a pledge drive to fund a stretch goal we've been close to for ages, a deep dive into Fullmetal Alchemist. So, if you want me to read and review a manga of your choosing, you can pledge $5 and I'll do just that. The support doesn't just help in purchasing the manga and funding stretch goals, but allows me to continue doing what I love for a living. And who knows, maybe in the future I'll be talking about how your recommendation inspired a video.